Hello. Um, I write children's books about Malaysian wildlife. Of course, our very famous wildlife in Malaysia, very unique to Malaysia and Indonesia only, is the orangutan. We do not have orangutan living naturally in other forests, just exclusively Malaysian rainforests and the Sumatra rainforest. So this is Manja the orangutan. When I first wrote about Manja the orangutan, that was in 2006. That's 6 years ago, more than 6 years ago. I was doing volunteer work in Zoo Negara. So I was a volunteer with the Malaysian Zoological Society. I started as a visitor because I have 5 children. So as a mother, education and reconnecting them with nature is very important. And I think a lot about the future. I think a lot about what is happening to Earth. What is the future for my children, for my nieces, for my children's friends, everybody. You all are children. I don't see many adults. I don't see many older people like me. I'm 51 this year. I'd rather.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. So I was a volunteer at the zoo. I was a normal. I started off as a visitor, like everyone else, but I was not happy with the conditions of the animals in the zoo. Any of you happy with the conditions of the animals in the zoo here? Anyone? Raise up your hand. No, right? It's a very sad condition. Animals do not deserve to live in little cages, little enclosures. Actually, the ones that you see in the enclosures are not too bad, but the ones that live behind it in little cages, they take turns to share the larger exhibit enclosure that you see. That is not even real. How many of you have seen the orangutan's enclosure at the Aid Center? Anyone? Raise your hand, please. No one? Have you seen the trees, the large trees there? They have electrical wires around the trees to stop the orangutans from climbing. Because when the orangutans do get to climb, they get to escape out of the enclosure. So it's more for beauty. The orangutan does not get to climb the tree at all. It's a very sad situation. And when it's after visiting hours, the orangutan is sent back to little cages, which is about 3 feet times 6 feet, on cement flooring. There's no tree, there's not even a single leaf inside for her. And her fur, her long hairy fur, gets scraped on the cement floor. So what I did was I was very much involved in the enrichment program. What I did was I brought shoots, I brought vegetables, I brought fruits that they could not get in the zoo. They keep getting bananas, papayas, which were not even good papayas, you know. So I brought them eggs, I brought them guava shoots, I brought them bamboo shoots, I brought them other fruits like durians, like mangosteens that they naturally get in the forest, but they don't get in the zoo because of limited funds. So I was very much involved in enrichment, food enrichment, and also life enrichment. I brought bedding for them. Gunny sacks, do you know the natural gunny sacks that people use to fill up potatoes and onions? So I brought those are natural fibers. So it's safe to put into the orangutan's enclosure for bedding. So what the orangutan does is she takes it and she carefully places it on the floor for her to sleep. It's a very sad thing to see, right? So when I was doing my research for the orangutan so that I could write my storybook, because before that I did not know anything, I didn't know much about orangutans. So I felt very connected to the orangutan. I was inside the cage with the orangutan for several hours, which was a very painful thing to do, to be in a little cage with an orangutan. And this particular orangutan was a male Sumatran orangutan. There's only 2 species, the Sumatran and the Bornean orangutan. So this particular male orangutan, his name is Choki. Instead of me observing him, he was observing me. See? So one time my hair was sticking out of my tudung, and I did not really know him well at that time, and he was about 9 years old, but big. So he came up to me and he pointed his finger, and slowly he approached me, and I was like, oh dear, what is he going to do to me? So he gently poked his hand through my tudung, pushed my head in, because he was observing me. Every time my head came out, I was pushing it in. So he wanted to do it for me. So you see how intelligent the animal is? Okay. And then I brought him a durian, but because this orangutan was born in the zoo, he did not know how to open up a durian. In a while, he would see his mother do it, But in the zoo, once they are born, after about 3, 4, 5 years, they get separated from the mother, so they do not get to see the mother opening up durians. So I handed him a durian, and he just looked at it. He didn't know. He was hungry. It was early morning. He did not have breakfast yet. He just looked at the durian, and he passed it back to me. And I was thinking, oh dear, what shall I do now? I don't have any knife in the cage, right? So I held on to the durian, and the only way to get it open was to smash it on the floor. So I smashed it up for him, but it did not break. It was a tough durian. So I passed it over to him, and he did the same thing. He took the durian and he smashed it on the floor, and it opened up. And he opened up the durian and he ate the pieces of flesh. He really enjoyed it. He didn't want to give me the skin. He kept the skin to himself. Okay. So that is a little bit of story about my experience with orangutan in captivity. So I started doing more research, and I came up with this book. So what I did was I wrote this little short biography about Manja the orangutan. This is another orangutan in the zoo. They have 12 orangutans in Zoo Negara. So I wrote her life story, where she came from, what life is like for her in the zoo, to raise more awareness through, it's an illustrated book. So, there's one page about.
It's a lot of beautiful pictures. Do you know who drew it?
The artist is an architect. Her name is Sheila Samsuri. All right.
Passion, I believe.
Yes. Okay. Oh dear.
That's okay.
In the wild, orangutans lived on treetops. They build nests, really big, beautiful nests. It's about 6 to 7 to 8 feet wide. Okay. So they very much depend on trees. They hardly come down. All right. So my aim, my objective is through illustrated books for children, is to evoke more compassion, and for everyone to have better understanding of what life is like for animals in the forest. Most of the time when we talk about green, we talk about technologies, we talk about industries that affect us. We forget that it's affecting the animals in the wildlife very, very badly. They're not coping well. They're suffering. And there's not enough enclosures, not enough parks, not enough animal centers to hold them, to take care of them well. What's the point of holding them, but they're suffering? Okay? Even some of us have dogs, have cats, even that we feel so much for them, right? Do we? Do we? Okay. And then I started writing about elephants, but that has not been published yet. It will be published soon. It's also about a real-life elephant. Her name is Siti the elephant. And I also wrote, after writing so much about animals on land, I thought about animals in the sea. So I wrote about Putri Tioman, the green turtle. She's a real-life turtle. She's got a transmitter on her back. She's being monitored now to study her journey in the waters. She's been traveling up and down to Vietnam, to China, and coming back. All right. So, so as a mother, I'm very concerned about the future for all the children. Okay, and when I was a child, I had a lot to enjoy. Sadly, I have to say I have much more to enjoy than you all do right now. Okay, I'm very sorry. I have to apologize. Okay, when I first came to Templars Park, that was maybe more than 40 years ago when I was a little child. It was much, much greener. The water was much, much cleaner. The air was much, much more fresh. Okay. But We can still do something. There's still lots of hope for us as long as there's a will to change. When we talk about forests, when we talk about resources, people tend to forget about water. Water is a very important element in our life. Any of you familiar with Dr. Imaru Imoto? All right, he has done lots of research on water. He's a very established researcher about water. He's very well known. He's traveled around the world talking about the importance of water and the sources of water. So his research includes the study about the saddest people on the earth. So he has concluded that there's one country which I do not want to mention here. The people are very stressed out, easily get sick, and they're not happy with their life. They're not even producing children because of the water. The water that they drink is most of the time recycled water. Even though recycled water looks clean, sparkling clean, like crystal clear, but because of the flow of the water, it has gone through so much of process, the water becomes poison to the human, poison to the animals, poison to the plants. You must remember that every vegetable that you eat, most of its content is water. So the water that it seeps through its stems and leaves all comes back to us when we eat it. So it's very, very important to take care of the forest because it's our source of water. When I was younger, there was not as much carbon dioxide in the air, but now there's millions and millions of cars, more factories, but the number of trees are getting less. So what do we do about it? We have to protect the existing forests. We must speak up, we must be angry. We are entitled to be angry for the forest that we have lost. It's our air, it's our future. What's the point of money? What's the point of a fast car, or a Ferrari or Maserati? What's the point? If the air is dirty and the water is dirty, right? We'd rather walk and take the bus, right? Okay, I won't say much. Please, I won't waste much more time. If you are interested in getting my books, it's available in Kinokuniya. But the Manja the Orangutan is only available in Zunegara because I've donated all the books to Zunegara to set up their education fund because they did not have an education fund. So I wanted them to use the money to educate the public, especially children. So I hope you get hold of my books and read them out to your younger sisters, or any parents here, read out to your children. You'll be surprised how much you can learn from children's books. Thank you very much. Happy Earth Day.